by Sylvia Plath first, and then if time permits we will go for Colossus. However, I need to inform you that I might have to end the class in another 30 or 35 minutes. I will not be able to carry it on till 9. I have something which clashes with this timeline. Anyway, so I think we will be able to deal with Ariel by that time, and the only poem that will be left will be Colossus, which we will do in our next class, which I will request Shukla ma'am so that it could be conducted within this week, so that we will be done with our syllabus. Anyway, okay, so Ariel, if as you know, Ariel is the name of what? What is the name of what is this um, Ariel thing? Can somebody tell me what is the reference of Ariel? Anyone? Well, Ariel is the name of the spirit in Shakespeare's Tempest. I don't know if you had this text in your syllabus, but Ariel is the Ariel was the name of, or is the name of this spirit, the supernatural spirit in Shakespeare's Tempest, known for its mischievous nature. But here in this poem, Ariel is the name of the horse which Sylvia Plath used to ride when she used to visit her farm, whenever she did visit her farm. So let's go into this poem. Stasis in darkness. Now, in the very beginning of the poem, we find the image of darkness, the image of blindness, the image of sightlessness and death. And stasis does not help enlighten or enliven our spirit, because stasis itself means to be stuck, stopped, waiting. So stasis in darkness, of course darkness has a nature of static in itself, because darkness does not really move, and in darkness we do not move very quickly, or we do not want to move quickly because we might hit something. So stasis and darkness is a kind of a a proper complementary things. But let's see what stasis and darkness leads us to. Then the substanceless blue pour of tor and distances. So first there is a kind of a stasis in darkness, and then the substanceless blue, the blue sky, comes up. Pour of tor and distances. Tor can refer to a hill, a mountain, the peak of a hill or a mountain, which could be seen first, because it is the tor, it is the peak of the hill or the mountain that catches the first light. I don't know, this is a sheer coincidence that we have been talking about 5 o'clock in the last poem in of the Hollow Men, and here we are talking about, as if we are ending one poem at one point and then starting a poem, starting another from a next step. We are taking a next step. So gradually we find that the poem is describing the dawn. Dawn is happening. It's coming back. there had been stasis in darkness, there had been some delays, there had been some lack of motion in the darkness, but then the blue sky is breaking up, breaking out, and we can see the peaks, we can see the tops of the hills and the mountains, and also we can see the distances. We can see what lies way ahead of us, because we usually look, if we can look, at distances when the day breaks. It's a picturesque image that Plath creates here. God's lioness. What is God's lioness here? What is being referred to as God's lioness? Anyone? God's lioness? Why not lion? Why lioness? How one we grow, pivot of heels and knees, the furrow. I think Plath wants to say, Plath wants to signify God's lioness as the dawn. The dawn could be God's lioness, because I won't say it's fierce, but it has a strength. It has a energy, a vitality. The dawn has the strength and vitality that the dawn brings to our civilization. Lioness, because maybe the poet is herself a female. That's why it's not a lion but a lioness. Or was she getting confused between Usha and Uma? I don't think Sylvia Plath was as into Hindu mythology as Eliot was, but I find it strange that why is she talking about lioness? Because Uma, another name of goddess Durga, has a lion for her steed, not a lioness though, but people make mistakes. And Usha, which is the goddess of dawn, though not worshipped anymore, but in Ved, Usha is the goddess of dawn. So is there a kind of a mixing up of these images in Plath's mind? We as the Oriental people, we as the Eastern people, we as the Hindu people, or not all of us are Hindus, we as the Indian people, we can say, can interpret this God's lioness as a kind of a reference to this mixing up between the goddesses of Usha and Uma. But if we do not even take into consideration this, then also we can say that the dawn can be regarded as God's lioness because it has an energy that a lion possesses, that a lioness possesses, not a lion, because the lion, they don't hunt. They just sit there like me, couch potatoes, and they wait for the lionesses to hunt, and then they go and eat whatever the lioness has caught. So the lioness has more energy than the lion. How one we grow pivot of heels and knees. We grow pivot of heels and knees. Maybe this is a reference to the breaking out or yawning or um, exercising of our pivots, exercising of our joints of heels and knees in the morning, in the dawn. We make them move, and that marks the beginning of the day, and until we come to the closure of the same at the end of the day, we keep using these pivots, we keep using these points of heels and knees. The furrow. The furrow stands isolated from the entire stanza, and it could be the furrow of the farm, the field where uh, Plath is standing, and she is seeing these furrows in the farmland, in the agricultural field where she stands. Splits and passes, sister to the brown arc of the neck I cannot catch. The furrow splits and passes, sister to the brown arc of the neck I cannot catch. The furrow splits and passes, and the furrow is sister to the brown arc of the neck I cannot catch. The furrow, it comes to my mind while I interpret the poem. It comes to my mind that since she is talking about knees and heels, since she is talking about body parts, could the furrow be a reference to our spinal cord, which is a kind of a which kind of juts out from our skin on our back? Can it be called a furrow? And it splits and passes. So there are splits in the spinal cord also, and it is sister to the brown arc. I have often wondered what this brown arc actually is. What do you think this brown arc is? Nobody is talking today for some reason. I don't know. But I would still ask, what do you think this brown arc is? Brown arc of the neck I cannot catch. So she's talking about her body, and it is a brown arc. But brown is not the color of the skin of Sylvia Plath. So why is she calling it brown, and arc is a semicircular image, semicircular geometrical figure? But she cannot catch it. What could this brown arc be of the neck? We can catch our neck, like we can touch all the parts of our neck, but when we cannot, what is the when does it happen that we cannot catch our neck or the arc that it makes? Onkon?
Hello.
Yes, you're audible.
The question টা রিপিট করবেন, মানে ব্রাউন আর্ক বলতে কি বোঝাচ্ছে?
ব্রাউন আর্ক বলতে কি বোঝাচ্ছে প্রথম কথা, এবং অফ দ্য নেক তো বুঝতে পারছি যে ওর গলাটার যে আর্চটাকে, সেইটাকে ব্রাউন আর্ক বলতে পারে, কিন্তু সেটা কেউ ধরতে পারছে না কেন? কখন হয় যখন আমরা আমাদের নিজেদের গলাই আর ধরতে পারি না?
মানে সিচুয়েশনের কন্ট্রোলটা নেই আর কি ওটাতে পুরো, এরকম কিছু বোঝাতে আছে। সিচুয়েশনটা হাত দিয়ে বেরিয়ে যাচ্ছে।
ওকে,
হ্যালো,
ওকে, ওকে, হতে পারে।
সিচুয়েশনের উপর আর ওনার কোনো কন্ট্রোল নেই, সেটাই বোঝাতে চাইছে আর কি। যেহেতু ধরতে পারছে না আর কি, সেটাই মনে হলো।
Okay, she cannot catch her neck, but look for something more practical, everyday thing. Anyone else? Devaprasad?
স্যার
হুম,
স্যার আমি কিছু বলতে পারবো না।
কেন?
স্যার আমাদের এখানে লোকনাথ বাবা তিরোধান উৎসবের পর থেকে এখানে চেঁচামেচি করে যাচ্ছে। আমি এতক্ষণ ধরে কিছু বুঝিও নি, কিছু শুনিও শুনতেও পাইনি। ল্যাপটপের সামনে শুধু বসে আছি।
ওকে, মানে তোমার ইয়ার প্লাগস নেই? ইয়ার প্লাগস দিয়ে?
না, ওটা একটু মানে মানে ওটা একটু প্রবলেম আছে, কাজ করছে না। ওই জন্য ল্যাপটপের ওই নর্মাল যে স্পিকার সেটার সাহায্যে।
ওকে,
দরজা জানলা বন্ধ আমার, তবুও সাংঘাতিক ভাবে আওয়াজ আসছে।
yeah, I can hear your um, background sounds.
হ্যাঁ, তো আপনি
um,
যখন ইউটিউবে আপলোড করবেন ওটার ভরসায় আছি আমি।
okay, okay, ঠিক আছে,
হুম।
no problem. Anyone else other than Onkon? Onkon says that he is going, he's into this metaphor that the situation is out of our control. But can there something be more, something that happened with um, Plath? Actually, Plath was riding a horse, and her horse's name is Ariel, and she fell from the horse, and she hurt herself, and that is why she could not catch her neck. হাতে পায়ে কোমরে বা গলায় তার ব্যথা লেগে গেছিল, এবং সেটার জন্য সে ধরতে পারছিল না। এবং আর্ক যেটা আমরা করতে পারি, মানে যেটা আমরা ঝুঁকতে পারি, সেটাও উনি করতে পারছিলেন না কিছু দিনের জন্য, কারণ উনি ঘোড়ার থেকে পড়ে গেছিলেন।
এটা
নিগার
তো
আই,
ওনার জীবনী না জানলে আমি তো বলতে পারবো না।
হ্যাঁ, সেটা সেটা বটেই, যে ওনার মানে ওই কনটেক্সটটা আমরা যদি না জানি, দেন দেয়ার ইজ ওয়াই, বাট দ্য এরিয়াল ওয়ার্ড is important here, because the Ariel is the name of the horse which Sylvia Plath used to ride, and she fell from that horse back then. But that is of secondary importance. But what you say can also be very true, that we cannot catch, when we cannot catch a part of our own body, that means we have lost control. And we know at least this, that Sylvia Plath was suicidal. Maybe she had lost control over her mind also. She had lost control over her life. And hence she says this. Nigger eye, berries cast dark, hooks. Nigger eye, black eye. She could not have a black eye, or maybe is she referring to a black eye that she got after she had a fight with her husband? Is she referring to a case of an instance of domestic abuse? I can only speculate, and I cannot confirm if that is the case. Berries cast dark, hooks. So berries are being compared with black eyes, dark eyes, because even in the morning, when the light is not really that bright, the berries um, grown on the trees might appear as eyes, dark eyes. The image is difficult to follow sometimes, but if you look at berries which are round, and if you compare them with eyes which are also round, and then because of the lack of light, they are appearing to be dark, and hence the berries are like black eyes grown on the tree. Hooks, black sweet blood mouthfuls.
এখানে রেশিয়াল স্লার ইউজ করা হচ্ছে কেন, মানে পিজোরেটিভ মনে হচ্ছে।
যে সময় প্লাথ লিখছিলেন, সেই সময় এটা পেজোরেটিভ ছিল না। মানে এটা একটা ওয়ার্ড ছিল, যেমন মানে অনেক ওয়ার্ড এখন এমন আছে আর কি, যেটাকে এখন আমরা পেজোরেটিভ বলে মনে করি না, কিন্তু পরবর্তীকালে হয়তো সেটা পেজোরেটিভ হয়ে যাবে। কিন্তু যখন প্লাথ লিখছেন, তখন এটাকে ওনারা লিখতে পারতেন আর কি, নিগার কথাটাকে ব্যবহার করতে পারতেন। বাট নিগার অ্যাকচুয়ালি কথাটার মানেটা হচ্ছে কিন্তু ব্ল্যাক, ডার্ক। সো I don't think she is referring to a person, but she is referring to the color itself. Yes, you can say that there is a kind of a, ambivalent racial thing to it. You can say that, but I don't think she is referring to a person. I think she is referring to an object. Anyway, hooks, just like the furrow, the hooks also, but the hooks have their dash after, not before it. Black, sweet, blood, mouthfuls. পড়ে গিয়ে হয়তো মুখেই চোটটা লেগেছিল, মুখ থুবড়ে হয়তো পড়েছিল, তাই জন্য হয়তো চোখটা কালো হয়ে গেছে। মানে আমাদের যদি আমরা মুখ থুবড়ে পড়ি, চোখের মধ্যে যদি লেগে যায়, তাহলে চোখটা মানে ডার্ক আই হয়ে যাবে আর কি। আমাদের একটা যেমন চোখে ঘুষি মারলে যেমন হয়ে যেতে পারে। ব্ল্যাক সুইট ওই বেরিজগুলোকে বলছে। আবার ব্লাডটা সুইট হতে পারে কি কোনো সময়, যদি বিবলিক্যাল ইমেজ নাও, খ্রাইস্টের ব্লাডটাকে যদি নাও, তাহলে সেটা সুইট, তাহলে সেটা ওয়াইন। আবার মাউথফুল আবার বেরিজটাকে মাউথফুল বলা যেতে পারে, যে ও সকালবেলা হয়তো অনেকগুলো বেরিজ ও খাচ্ছিল, and they were like mouthful. And if they are red berries, if they are cranberries, then their color would be kind of blood like. But shadows, something else. And shadows could be black, shadows are black, and shadows of the breaking day, shadows of the last night. অলসো যখন যদি আমরা পড়ে যাই খুব জোরে, যদি আমাদের মাথায় চোট লাগে, তাহলেও আমাদের আস্তে আস্তে যে লাইটটা থাকে সেটা আমাদের চোখের সামনে থেকে চলে যায়, আমরা শ্যাডোই ওয়ার্ল্ডের মধ্যে ঢুকে যাই। আবার অনেক সময় পড়ার সময় আমাদের মনে হয় যে আমরা মরে যাব। So that could also be a reference of this shadow. But something else hauls me through air. There is something else, maybe her horse, that is hauling her through the air. Thighs, hair, flakes from my heels. দ্রুত গতিতে ওরা ছুটছে, যেন ওর মনে হচ্ছে হাওয়ার ওপর দিয়ে উড়ে যাচ্ছে। আর ওর চোখে কয়েকটা পার্ট আসছে, কোনো সময় ও নিজের হেয়ারটাকেই নিজের চোখের কোণ দিয়ে দেখতে পাচ্ছে, কোনো সময় ও দেখতে পাচ্ছে ওর থাইগুলো অনেকটা উপরে উঠে যাচ্ছে, আবার কোনো সময় ওটা দেখতে পাচ্ছে যে ওর হিলস থেকে যে ফ্লেক্সগুলো, যে ধুলোর কণাগুলো ছুটে যাচ্ছে, সেগুলোকেও ও দেখতে পাচ্ছে। আবার অনেক সময় যখন আমরা উল্টে পড়ে যাই, তখনও কিন্তু আমাদের থাইটা উপরে থাকলেও ধুলোগুলো, পায়ের যে ধুলোটা সেটা উপরে, মানে ইম্যাজিন দেয়ার ইজ এ সাসপেনশন অফ দিস ফলিং ইমেজ অফ Plath, and she can see all of these things when she is falling. White Godiva I unpeel. Godiva is the name of a famous chocolate back then, and its color was whitish. So it stands in contrast with nigger eye, black shadows. So she's unpeeling a white Godiva, but her hands are dead stringencies. So maybe if she has fallen down and she is she's in a shock, or as a home treatment, as a household treatment of a broken teeth or a bleeding gum, is usually sweet. If you apply these syrupy things onto the bleeding teeth, mouth or lips, then the blood clots sometimes, not always. Is it because of that she is taking this chocolate, or she is taking the chocolate because she is depressed, because she cannot catch her own neck and things have gotten out of her hand and she is depressed, and hence she is eating a chocolate, because many people say that eating a chocolate is kind of helps in the depression. But her hands are dead, her hands are cold, her hands are hurt, and she could barely move them, and hence maybe she cannot catch the neck. So it could be true that it is not the neck which is hurt, but it is the hand that is hurt. And if your hands are hurt, you cannot catch, you cannot take it up and catch your neck. Dead stringencies. Stringent is something that is strong, tough, but this stringency, I mean, when stringency is dead, it's a kind of a oxymoron, that something that is tough, something that is strong is dead. So there is a kind of a Eliot's motion without force, or gesture without motion, is having a play here as well. And now I foam to wheat, a glitter of seas, the child's cry. And now I foam to wheat, a glitter of seas. So perhaps where Plath's farm was, there could be, she could see in a distance the seas, and in her farm there could be wheat that has grown, and the top side of the wheat could appear to be like foam, white, or this foam could be the foam of the waves of the seas which she can see. But there is a child's cry. If we read into Plath's biography, she had a miscarriage. And I don't know if falling from the horse and the miscarriage are connected, but these lines now will refer to the death of that child. So the child's cry melts in the wall. This wall could be the uterus wall of Plath, where she had to undergo this miscarriage, and that led to her depression. This was like the postpartum depression into which she went in. And I am the arrow. She compares herself with the arrow, perhaps because she now remembers that she was going at a great speed on her horse, and that's why she calls herself an arrow. The dew that flies suicidal at one with the drive into the red, I, the cauldron of morning. So she is also comparing herself with the dew that flies suicidal. So the dew knows that as soon as the cauldron of the morning, the eye, the sun, the red eye, that is the sun, this is circumlocution, comes up, the dew will be evaporated, and yet the dew comes, flies. As soon as the drive, as soon as the red eye, as soon as the sun rises, which is in the cauldron of the morning, as soon as it appears in the firmament, the dew evaporates, or the dew dies. But it does not stop the dew from coming and settling on the morning grass. So I think there are a number of things that are going parallel in this poem. There is a personal accident that happened with Plath falling from the horse. Then there was a more traumatic experience that she went into, where she had to undergo miscarriage. Also, she might be referring to when she calls nigger eye, she might be referring to either real or imagined domestic abuse at the hands of her husband, also at the hands of her father, because in Colossus we will see that her father is she presents her father as a kind of a strict person with a huge masculine presence. So that could also be a reference here. And the suicidal dew is definitely a reference to her postpartum depression, which led her to further depressions, which led her to some suicidal thoughts and tendencies. So these things are going parallel, and this is, I mean, seen from this angle, this poem could be decoded at several levels, but this is how I wanted to interpret it, and this could be just the beginning of the interpretation. And the more you read about Plath, the more you might find more significations, more interpretations can be found in these lines. Okay. So that's it with Plath's Ariel. As I said, I do not want to begin Colossus because Colossus is a larger poem and it might require more than just half an hour, and I want to like finish it in a sitting, in a session. So I will stop here, and if you have any questions, if you have anything to tell me, we